The Gong Show. Don't forget to turn us on. Turn
That's
on our
right. That's right. I
unmute.
hope the sound's on. I hope it is. Anyway,
Testing 1 2 3.
welcome to Tinkering with Tech and all the H&M show. We're a little of both. We're just going to carry this on until next year. Maybe we'll have it all finalized out and figured out and
Wouldn't
everything
that
else.
be that would be a neat thing to do in a year from
That's
now?
right.
In a year from the first announcement of Tinkering with Tech, you
There you
actually have all the graphics, all the video. It's just that's not a bad idea.
Finally.
That gives you a deadline to work for, something for us to
I love it. I love
shoot
our
for.
fans too because Lolan even says, sound is on. What's wrong? No, I'm just kidding. She didn't say what's wrong. She didn't say what's wrong.
But she was thinking it though. She was thinking.
That's so
Well,
funny.
good. I'm glad that the sound is on, so we can actually get to the topic at hand.
You can't make me laugh. You can't make me laugh. Anybody that knows I've been a little bit ill this past week, so I may break out and do that a couple of times, and I apologize ahead of time if I do. But anyway, yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this week, and I know a couple people have mentioned to me that they love the subject or think they're going to love this subject, and I think it's
Yeah,
cool.
they don't know. They don't really
That's
know.
right.
So
That's
we'll
right.
see.
So, successful productivity requires a three-legged stool: time, project, and communication management.
Yeah, and on tonight's show, I want to share with you the perfect tool that will give you success and productivity. That's what I want to give it to you.
Okay,
Just
so
the perfect tool.
the one and only tool is what you're saying.
Yes, that's what this show is going to be about. You don't need to have all those other tools. You have one. It's like the magic wand of all
Oh, cool.
perfect tools. Well, okay, I can't lie. We're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're not really
All
going
right.
to do that.
All right.
Actually, tonight's topic is really more about the process and a lot less about the tool. So we don't have a lot of visuals to share. We don't have a lot of screen sharing or anything like that. We're going to talk about the process and hopefully discuss with you in the audience some of your process and things that work and maybe even some things that have not worked. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm real curious to hear what other people are doing. I know you and I have had this discussion this week, coming up to this and talking about this, but I'd love to hear what other people have to say. I always like getting input, and that becomes so important. So, speaking of input, let me go out to commenting real quick just so we can recognize some of the people that are out there. We got Mark Barris, who's joined us, Andrew Hatchett, Lowland. We have Miss Sheila Hensley's out there, Scott Scowcroft just joining in progress. So good, we got some people out there. So hopefully you guys can add your points and your message or what you use or some of the tools you use. So cool.
Yeah, and really, it isn't about the tool. You could have the shiniest, most expensive, brand new hammer, and it isn't gonna hit a single nail if you never take it out of the toolbox. So we really aren't going to focus on that. We're going to focus on the process, and let's just start with the beginning of this process is time management. You can do a whole lot of things and waste a whole lot of time, and you really do need to focus on time management in order to start with your productivity. So I've just got some notes here that I wanted to read a little bit.
Before you do read that, though, I just want to say too, this applies in not just work too, because I'm a coach, I'm a sports guy, and all that kind of stuff. These exact same things apply in those instances as well. So this can be used.
So I see this being a valuable discussion for small businesses, for those who work in a work situation of some kind, not necessarily entrepreneurial. This works in sports, in every aspect of your life, spiritually, all aspects of it. You manage your time, you're going to manage your productivity off.
That's what I thought of, and I thought it was really cool. I thought, man, this is really good. I like that.
So the first thing that you want to do to help yourself with time management is to collect all of your commitments your tasks, your projects all into one location. Now, there are tools out there that can help you do that. And maybe someone in the audience has some suggestions for some tools that they use. Some that we've talked about here on the show are things like Trello.
Mm,
We've talked about Keep. Keep is a good one because it's free and it integrates with a lot of Google products, and you and I are big fans of Google products.
true, and we're using it
Um,
right now, as a matter of fact.
as a matter of fact, we are. It's wide open on my desktop right now, and I'm reading notes from that, which
Yeah.
is really a cool thing because if you think about it, we were able to collaborate
Mm-hmm.
while each of us worked on our different jobs because we have jobs outside of the show. We were able to work on this at our leisure, and the other person was able to come to it when they needed to and actually interact with it. And now here we're able to utilize it for tonight's show, our notes. And that's pretty awesome. And it goes beyond just being able to take notes for the today's show
Mm-hmm.
topic and then collaborate. You could do lists, you can add pictures. There's just so many things that you can do there to keep and collect all of your commitments, your tasks, and so on. And it also integrates with Gmail now, which is really kind of cool. It's right there, right alongside Gmail, so you can take a task from your email and just
So
plug it right
awesome.
in. Right?
So
That's
awesome.
very
Yes.
awesome.
And
Um,
Trello is one that you can add to it too now. You can add it there
oh,
too as well. Yeah. So they have a lot of add-ons that they have. It's really cool.
good to know. So that's within Gmail, right?
Yes.
Which Gmail is a part of that communication management that
Mm-hmm.
we'll be talking about as we go through this discussion. So it's a three-legged stool, keep that in
Mm-hmm.
mind. And the first leg or one of the legs is time management, another leg is communication management, and then another leg would be project management. So the first thing to your process is to gather all of those commitments, tasks, and projects into one location. Once you have all of that and you have a tool that helps you manage those, or maybe it's just a piece of paper and a pen. There are some folks, and I'm one of them, who still require a pen and a paper to keep track of things. So there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's not about the tool. So does anyone in the audience have anything to add to this part of the discussion with
Yeah.
management time, maybe tools or anything?
Yeah, that'd be great. If anybody does, please put your comments in there. But because I, for one, I can't spell. So, so for me to write stuff down doesn't work for me. Although I will say this, I do use post-it notes, but I've
Yeah.
learned to use Keep as my post-it notes because I can collaborate and share. So even something as silly as writing down a phone number for my brother in the office or something like that. If I put it on Keep, I can share that Keep with him, and then he always has it. Because he's always
Yeah.
asking me, "Do you know the number? Did you ever write down that number from so and so or something like that?" So I get
Right.
it. So I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, I know what you're saying.
I like what Andrew says here. Comment he made: if you can't manage your time, you will never manage your life.
So true.
It's really important. I actually just had a conversation today, about 2 hours before we got into our meeting here, um, about this thing. Everybody has purpose and everybody has stuff to do. There's just no getting around that. You've got stuff to do. But and everybody's got the same 24 hours in a day, right? There's nobody who's got more time than anyone else. So how do you manage that and make sure that you get the best use of your time? And um, the very first thing is to correlate all of those items into one location, because you can have one tool that will manage your tasks and one tool that will manage your appointments and one tool that will manage the commitments that you've made or whatnot. If you have them all in one location, then you can see at a glance everything that needs to get done and you can manage it better. So remember the days of day planners? Do you remember those?
Oh, daytimer. Yeah, absolutely. I had one.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
I used to have one of the big thick leather,
Mm-hmm.
was it Covey? What was it? I don't remember the name of that, but
Yes, daytimer. I
definitely
used to have a daytimer all with me all the time.
carry it
I
everywhere,
did. I
right?
did.
It was like a
Yes.
Bible that carried everywhere.
Yep. I agree.
Well, now it's a digital age. We got digital timers in our day timers in our hands. So
Yeah, and I tell you, Gmail is getting more and more. I mean, and I don't mean to. I don't want to push a product. I'd like to hear
yeah,
other people's products and stuff because it's not one product. But they're really starting to bring a lot of the stuff and the things that I use. Like I can have my calendar right there. I can have my tasks right there. I can have my keep right there. I mean, I don't know. They're just making it easier and easier to do these kind of things, in my opinion,
Yeah,
because it's all in one place. You keep
absolutely.
talking about one place, so that's why I like.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's about finding that one place for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it might be everything in one place, or you might have to use a couple of things, but the plan is to have everything consolidated in one location. For
Mm-hmm.
me, quite honestly, this is the one location for me. My phone is the one location that has everything. I can do everything from my phone. I know not
Mm-hmm.
everybody can work that way. Maybe it's your laptop, but the point is, it's all in one place. I don't have to pull up five different
All right.
devices or what have you in order to access the things that I need to
Oh,
get
that's a
done.
great point too, because you know, like when we were talking about post-it notes, because that might be a post-it note at the office, or it might be a post-it note at home, whereas you have it wherever you are. That's a
It's
great
wherever
point.
I am.
That's
Yep.
a great point. I
Yep.
like that. And just to add to that,
Hmm.
Lowell Ann says I always have a scratch pad in hand, but also use Keep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've gotten away from the scratch pad. I'll be honest with you. This is my work desk right here. I do work here all day, and then I also do fun here. So this is where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my notes in in a spiral binder like this.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, what's written down on here is strictly stuff that I was keeping my hand busy while I was on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
or while somebody was talking about something. I might have been keeping notes, and then I will immediately transfer those notes into either a Google document, because it is collaborative and we do use Google Suite, or into an email that I will
Nice.
send to everybody on the team. There's lots of different ways that I do it, but it almost all goes digital before the hour is up, really.
Nice.
So, and it really is about where is everybody and how I can communicate with them all at one time. So, again, that three-legged stool to productivity
Mm-hmm.
is time management,
Time management, yeah.
as well as project management, as well as communication management. So even though I've managed my time and I've got all these things, if I don't communicate it with the team, or put it into the project management board, then it doesn't really matter what I'm doing with my time because no one else will know. so, so again, that three-legged stool to keep your productivity going. So let's move on to project management. If there's nothing else,
The only
I
thing
think
that
there's a
Mark mentions is the only thing I think Keep Gmail thing is best for me, but how do I integrate texting? I'm forced to copy and paste, etc. That is a challenge, and it always will be a challenge as long as they keep that as a. And there's so many different text companies out there, and just so many people use different things. So many people have different phones, and so many. So all of that, I get what you're saying, and I can see that as being a frustration. But again, as long as you're taking the time out, I think, to do what she's talking about in these three-legged steps, as part of your project, man, it has to become part of your time. It has to become part of your time management to include that somehow. That's the way I see
Well, I
it.
like the idea of solving a problem. So,
Mm-hmm.
so just so I understand, the process for Mark sounds like he gets an email and then he has to text it some way, or vice versa. He gets a text and now he has to integrate it into email,
Mm-hmm.
or keep, or
Mm-hmm.
what have you. And there's a lot of copy paste going on back and forth. My question would be, is it because others are using a tool you'd rather not use, or is it because there is no way to do the tool you want to use, say texting, and the one that everybody else is using at the same time, like the two together? I
I
would like to know what his thoughts are on that.
I agree.
If I'm along the right lines there, because my question then becomes, if it's a tool that, say, your clients are using and you're being forced to use it because you really would rather not text, but yet that's what they seem to all want to do. um, you are in control of your business, so you decide, and this is true with friendships and everything else, but you decide where you're going to be. We don't This I think is a big problem with where we're at right now. We think we have to have everything that we've heard about. So on the H&M show, on Tinkering with Tech, we've heard about a lot of products, a lot of tools, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things, but it never are we saying that so that that way you will install all of them on your device.
Mm-hmm.
That's never our purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the idea is to bring up as many as possible because we're all so different and we
Mm-hmm.
all function differently. We have a different process. So maybe the process for you is different than the process is for me. And if that's the case, then you are going to need a different tool, right?
Absolutely.
So for me, I prefer to either text or I'd prefer to hang out with most people. Hangouts are pretty much dead for most of the people that I prefer to hang out with. And there's just a select few that still are on Hangouts, but if you want to reach me, I would prefer that that's where we do it. And there are not many people who are doing it. Allo would be by far the ultimate. I would prefer everybody talk to me through Allo. You and I are the only ones who ever use Allo
Yeah.
on my circles,
Yeah. No,
which stinks.
I totally get that, and probably because Google announced that they're postponing or stopping, putting a hold on, I think is the word they use,
Yeah.
on
Yeah,
production of.
which changes how people use products totally.
Absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
totally true. So, I work for a company that requires all of us to use Slack. Slack is a
Mm-hmm.
communication tool I was going to talk about in another two stool legs here, but we'll get to it
Go
right
ahead.
now because we're talking about it. So,
All right.
um, Slack is a communication tool. It is not for everybody, but it is for my company's team. So that's like a requirement when you work here um, is to have the Slack either on your computer or on your phone, and preferably on both, so that way you can actually communicate when you're away from your computer. So it's an interesting concept, but it's a part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
So have to do that. And I've actually learned to really like it, which is why I wanted to talk about it a little bit, but we'll get to that. So just a side note there, thinking it's your company, it's your job, Mark. Whatever you want to use is how you train your clients to use and to interact with you. I think if I'm understanding the
Yeah,
issue.
he says
So let's
because
get back to
some
comment.
he says because some don't read email, I need to text or Facebook Messenger, and I know that's very
Mm-hmm.
popular, and people need to do that as well. I know Richard says Duo and Allo are good for communication with both Android and iOS because you get to use it on both. It's not just one sided. I think that's a valid point, but again, I don't think a lot of people have it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Ross says this says a lot for my own time management. I'm still trying to find it. One thing that I do, and one thing that I find that if my son, or like on a personal level, or people that know me know I'm into baseball, I get that text about baseball.
Mm-hmm.
If I can't let that hold, I try and push that to like you said, a hangout message. Push it into a hangout message and then just send it to myself and then transfer it because I like to do everything on the computer as well. There are text
Mm.
apps out there. There's text apps out there that'll take your personal SMS and put it on a computer so you can do that. And then you can just quickly copy and paste into your Gmail. You can set it up as a Gmail that way too. Because you're right, a lot of people don't, especially on personal level and things like that. So when I get those texts, a lot of times it interrupts what I'm doing. So I have to allocate time for text, allocate, and pretend like I don't even have my phone. I put it in my car or something when I'm at work so I don't even see it. And I
Mm-hmm.
know everybody's like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't do that. What if this urgent comes in? Well, think about back in the day before we had it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
How did
saying?
we ever survive?
How did we ever survive? Oh my God. Because you can. I mean, you really can
Yeah.
wait. But
Well,
anyway, go ahead.
I think what you're touching on there is self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So this conversation that I had earlier today, I alluded to that earlier. It was all about self-discipline. Ended up being about productivity and time management and all that stuff, but it was really about self-discipline. Every single thing we said all came back down to self-discipline, and I'm lacking. I'm lacking big time.
Mm.
And if you're an entrepreneur and you're lacking in self-discipline, I bet you everything that you're struggling with stems from not having self-discipline. I bet you can trace it all back to I
Right.
need to be more self-disciplined in
Yeah.
order to get these tasks complete.
I,
Because we all do have the same amount of time.
I agree, and I've actually gotten to a point where I have a 5 point scale
Hmm.
on priority and least, and and least on the fifth is like I can push this to other days. I don't even have to worry
Mm,
about that today. So I
that's
just
a good
kind of
idea. So let's just stop right there and
okay.
take it back a step. So you've gathered all of the things that you need to do. You've gathered all your commitments, you've gathered all your tasks that need to get finished, and then now you're going to assess them, right? You need to assess them and say which ones must be done and which ones do I need to tackle immediately. And those are then what, priority 1 or priority, is that how it works
If
on
I
your
have to
scale
do
to
it
you?
now, it's one. If I have to, if
It's
it,
1.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So priority
That
1,
means the
DEFCON
bank's calling. They're
1.
taking money out of the bank or something.
That's oh, gotcha,
That's
gotcha.
one.
Gotcha.
That's one.
Hold on, Mr. Taxman. Please don't take my wallet. Gotcha. Okay, so that's number one. So you're gonna put those number ones at the top of the list, or you're going to make them the list, and nothing else is on that list until all the ones are done. And you may have only one or two ones. You
Hmm.
may have 15 ones. I caution you to try to tackle 15 ones in one day. I really do caution you on that. I think we can easily overwhelm ourselves and we can easily say it's too much and forget about it. I also like what Andrew says. I'm just going to read it. You don't have to bring it up. It says, um, I missed it. I think I missed it in my list here. So you
It's
do
not
have to
my
bring it
job.
up.
It
Go
says
ahead.
it's not my job to please everybody. If a client doesn't like what I'm using, then too bad. I ain't changing.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm getting at here is that it's important for you to prioritize for yourself, just like the dentist does. I mean, the dentist
Right.
says I'm open on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I don't work on Thursday and Friday, but you have a toothache,
Hmm.
or you want to have your dentist appointments all on Thursdays. Doesn't
Hmm.
matter. The dentist doesn't work that day. You understand?
Hmm.
So we adapt to what other people doing. I think that people adapting to what we're doing is fine, and adapting to your own what's a priority and what needs to be done. That's what you need to do on your list. So that takes me into project management, because if you now have all of your items collected, you've prioritized them. Now, how do you manage those projects? Okay. There are some really great software programs out there. Many of them translate into apps on your phone, um, or mobile device. I always have to say or mobile device
Hmm.
because Andrew out there will get upset with me about the phone thing, right? So, but he does have a tablet. He's mobile, whether he wants to believe it or not. So,
Hmm.
so, so these different programs that you can put into your system or not, some are free, some the good ones do have a fee, and the fees range. I did some research on this week. The fees range anywhere from like $7 a month
Per person.
to it
Hmm.
could be for the whole team,
Hmm.
um, to like $20 one-time fee
Gotcha.
to $199 a year.
Hmm.
So it really depends on what it is that you're looking for, how big your team is. I'm glad that you mentioned that,
Hmm.
how large of a team or employees or however you want to
Hmm.
look at it on your team. Um, all those things matter. So let's just talk about a couple of them. I threw out some names to you, and I can't find that list. I searched frantically before we got to this point, and I failed at finding that list. So I'm sure you'll pull it up while I'm stalling here. But so I know one of them was Basecamp. Basecamp is kind of an interesting thing. So just write these down if you're watching and you're interested in a project management tool or software. Teamwork is another one. I don't I don't believe either of these are free, but the Basecamp base base version for Basecamp is not too expensive. So of course that's all relative. What you're willing to spend on your business or capable of spending on your business is totally up to you. So that's a relative term. I don't mean to say what's expensive to me might not be to you. So there you go. They're an interesting though. They're very interesting because the the setup of them is probably the hardest part. Once you get set up in it, then maintaining your projects and actually passing things back and forth to different team members becomes so simple. And it can integrate with your email. It can it can integrate with, like, different ones integrate with different things. But for example, the one I use is Teamwork, and we can actually integrate with Google Documents and all kinds of things. You can attach files. It's really a neat thing. So you can keep all of the projects and all the information about the project in one location. So, for example, let's just say that you have this weekly tech show that you do on YouTube, and I mean, just for example, let's just say,
Mm-hmm.
and you have a video that you need to prepare for, and you have um, a topic and discussion points and all those things. I know we've used Trello
Mm-hmm.
to manage some of these projects, but not everything works well, because I can't say necessarily, why don't you handle this, and then
Mm-hmm.
pass it back to me when you're done, and then I'll know that it's my turn to complete the next stage.
Gotcha. Yeah,
that's
like different
that's what
levels
a
of it.
project management
Yeah.
software is going to do for you. You're able to check it off and say, I did my part, now it's your turn to do your part.
Mm-hmm.
Or, can you check this for me? Go
Mm-hmm.
look at this. um, I finished the images, and now they're in that folder, and here's the link to that folder. These are all different things you would do with the project management software. So this may be something that you utilize, or it may be something that you've been looking for. Were you able to find that list?
You got them all. It was Basecamp, Teamwork, and you mentioned Slack and also Trello.
And there was also another one, and I think it's called Pipe Drive.
Yeah, I didn't see that, but
It wasn't in the list, but it was
okay.
mentally in the
Okay.
list.
Gotcha.
Pipe Drive is also another one. So, but I will tell you, there are thousands of them out
Mm-hmm.
there. So there's not one perfect one. And what you need for you as a small company is totally in your wheelhouse. You're the only one who's going to know that. Um, you can manage a lot of it with just an individual keeping track and managing all the people. But what happens if that individual gets ill, or worse, they leave your company? So
Mm-hmm.
these are all things that you need to look at and take into consideration.
Loanne said something about
All
constant
right.
buffering. I don't know. It could be me. It could be you. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if everyone else
Yeah.
having that issue.
Marcus interest is mentioning Insightly,
Yeah,
which is another
insightly.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's just good to know. I'd love to hear more if you are familiar with any project management tools that or software that you are interested in. Now, in my research, and you guys probably already know this, so you're going to find out just how little I know about this stuff. Um, have you heard of Zapier?
Mm-hmm. Zapier.
Sure, Zapier. That's what it is,
Yes.
Zapier, because it's a little
Yes.
Zapier. Yeah, that's how you say it.
Yes. Yes.
So, interesting. All of the different. It's very much like If This Then That, but
Mm-hmm.
they 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 have a whole lot of integrations and a whole lot of work together zaps that are pretty awesome and can simplify your life, both time management and project management, all in one thing. Is quite interesting. And if you are somebody who utilizes social media quite a lot, there's a lot of things where if you write a blog post, it will
Mm.
automatically tweet it, it will automatically Facebook it, all kinds of things. I know that there's um, things that you can do to your WordPress plugins that you can add to your blog that can do some of those things too. So, again, it is not about the tool, it's just about looking at things from a different approach. If you are doing a lot of the same tasks over and over and over again, I guarantee you there is somewhere, somehow, some software or app that will simplify those things for you. And it's just a matter of a little bit of research and finding the one that works for you. However, do not fall into the trap of trying them all.
Yeah, no doubt. And also some of them are just too big for maybe what
Yeah,
you're
that's
doing
true.
too. I mean, they can
That's
they
true. It
can
depends
be,
on your.
but you
Yep.
have to
Go
find
ahead.
that. You have to find that. Have to find that happy medium. I know with our company, we were going to try Salesforce, and
That's huge.
it was just like, oh no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
It was too much to learn. You spent more time learning about the actual
Right.
software, and I'm not saying that's not for everybody out there. It might be for you. I don't know. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that might. I'm not. Again, we're not pushing tools or not pushing tools. We're looking
Right.
more at the end process? How do you get your management going for you?
Well, and I will say that almost every tool that you do start with, you are going to have some sort of learning curve. You're going to have some kind of investment of time and energy that you are going to
Mm-hmm.
have to put into it in order to get the most out of it. But I think that one thing that we don't do nowadays, or at least that I'm seeing is a common error, is that we expect to take a pill and in 30 minutes feel XYZ. We
Mm-hmm.
expect to turn on this function and now all is complete. um, we want a tool that's going one magic wand that's going to fix everything, and we don't want to have to do anything other than turn it on.
That's true.
And as much as I would love to have something like that, I'm also not comfortable with saying, here, you do it, you have all the access, and I just will hope that it worked,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
that's what that would require in
That's
order for
true.
that to even work.
That's
So,
true.
so I think when we think about it, we can say maybe that isn't the best plan, although it would be ideal. It isn't the best plan, and it's not the best for my business. Um, so that's what we have to do. We have to weigh all of this stuff, and so yes, some of
Yeah.
it is going to require a little bit of activity on your part.
Yeah, you definitely. I'm real curious to see what some people are using and stuff like
Mm,
that. I know Mark mentioned a couple things too, but this is all good stuff. I love project management. I think it can be a key part in the three-legged stool. And without any one of those legs, that stool is not standing up. So it's real important, yeah. Or if one's bigger than the other.
yeah, have you ever sat on a stool that had a leg that wasn't quite long enough?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And you just spend the whole time
It,
rocking back and forth.
it
It's
was
quite
probably one
irritating.
that I made too. So I'm terrible at shop. I'm terrible with that. So.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right, so I will tell you there's another thing. You remember our good friend Debbie, Miss Debbie?
I do.
Yeah, well, she had a thing that she would say. She had focus, framework, follow through. I can't remember exactly what order they were in,
Right.
but definitely it you cannot have good project management if you do not focus on one task at a time. Now, some jobs I live in one job where I would love to just finish this task and not have to talk to anybody else until it's done, but sometimes that's not possible. But for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, I am emphatic about just a moment, let me finish this.
Mm-hmm.
And done. Now, what did you need? And I apply that to everything: my husband, my children, my grandmother. And if you know anything about my life right now, that's kind of a big deal with my
It's a hands
grandmother. So
full. Yeah, it's a hands full
it's a
thing.
hands full situation. So,
So.
so for me to go, 1 second, okay, and now go. Yes, yes, grandma, what's up? You just have to focus, you have to complete it. Otherwise, I will tell you that project, no matter how well you manage it, it's going to get away from you, it's going to get out of there, and it's going to take way more time than is necessary. So these are more tips than anything else, but time management, you just need to gather everything and prioritize.
Mm-hmm.
Project management, you need to focus and follow through, and that's really key. And so then that leaves us with the last leg. If you can put everything on hold until one task is accomplished, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
it will maybe require you passing some things off to some other people. Think about
Delegation.
that for just a minute. Yeah, you
Yes.
may have to say, look, I realize this is a number one priority, but it's
Mm-hmm.
out of my wheelhouse, or it's not something I have to do. It has to get done, yes, but do I have to do it?
Mm-hmm.
So so you need to communicate. You need to be able to communicate to a team member, to a family member, to bring somebody on to help you. You never know, actually. I,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted this side note. This just sort of popped into my head a little bit ago. Um, you never know. As entrepreneurs, we seem to be like, I've heard this solopreneur thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in business for myself for officially 2.5 years. Officially, I've been doing this job for a long time, but I've been officially trying to earn a living at it for 2.5 years. Okay. in that 2.5 years, if I ever claim to be doing it solo, I am a big fat liar. And you sitting right there, Michael, and Andrew in the audience are two of the people that I have preneured with multiple times. That sounded a little off, but anyway, you know what I meant.
I do.
Um, I mean, I could not do anything that I do without the help of friends, and a lot of it has just been me asking and you helping.
Hmm.
So I suggest people reach out and talk to some people. I mean, that's why we built the community, because we wanted to help people and we wanted to share, and we wanted to also be able to expand our own borders, because you and I have been asked to do some things we never would have been interested in
Right. No, that's
looking
true.
into. Or
Yeah, exactly. No, that's so true. I mean, I definitely can vouch for that.
yeah,
But
so
it's
it's important, I think. And so how do we do that? How do we communicate with each other? We've talked about a couple of things. I mentioned Slack. Slack is a really cool tool because it's very much live interaction. Right now, you can add all kinds of things. You can make little um, groups or conversation threads. I don't even know what the heck they're called, but you can make these little private rooms where only you and two others can talk, or you can have individual conversations, and then you can have whole team-wide conversations. So it's actually a really cool place to be. Something else that works really well, that is quick, simple, and easy. I know we talk about video and streaming and all that stuff all the time, but this is more of a communication tool again. Zoom is awesome. Love Zoom. Maybe it's not for you. Appear.in works really well if you're going to use
especially
four
someone
or
that doesn't
less.
have an account or doesn't want to download anything. It's perfect
Yeah,
for
you don't
that.
want to download something.
It's
It's
perfect for that.
totally
Yeah.
totally interactive with folks across the world. You don't have to worry about not being able to connect
Mm-hmm.
with people. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but I was recently having to deal with a client in China. Turns out China blocks everything Google.
Mm-hmm.
So having a Google meeting set up with a person through Gmail and the Google Hangout connected to that, she never even got any of that information because China blocks all that. How did I know? I didn't know. So these are all just things to understand when you're worldwide, global internet stuff. You know, you got to have solutions, and Appear.in is a great one to have a conversation with folks visually. You don't have to have a camera; you can mute it, all that kind of stuff. You can share, just like
Mm-hmm.
Hangouts, just
Yeah.
like
Zoom, just
Zoom,
like
just
yeah,
like all the
yeah.
things that we're used to using.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another tool that you could have in your arsenal if you need it. Um, some other things.
As far as
I
meeting,
lost my,
online meeting,
yeah,
Skype.
yeah. Skype, good.
You have
Thank you. Keep
Skype.
it coming.
Yeah, you have Skype for sure. You have things like that. There's a lot. There's a lot of different ones, little things. I mean, even GoToMeeting. I mean, depending on your company and the size and things like that, that's still out there, still available. I know there's
Yeah, and
different
I'm
things.
talking about internal conversation.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about producing a webinar for the
Right,
world to watch and
right.
see. I'm talking about internal
Internal
communication. It doesn't have
office.
to be perfect.
Hmm.
It's just a boardroom where you can all sit together and meet. So sometimes we get hung up on but I want a crystal clear image. I want to hear,
Probably worried about
perfectly
the
with
wrong
no
thing then,
echo.
right?
So, sometimes just being able to communicate with somebody in some way is really all I need to do. It doesn't have to be a five-star production. So um, anyway, uh, so I just had notes here about calling the cavalry, get help with the non-essential tasks. That's what we talked about. Um, the out of your wheelhouse responsibilities, any of those things that you can just recognize when you gather all your commitments, gather all your tasks, and you go down the list and prioritize. Turns out this has to be done, but it's not something I can get done. That has been a big issue in my craft shack world is I can't do everything. It
Mm.
isn't that I don't want to, or that you know I don't have the time or any of those. I just don't have the knowledge to do all of it. So sometimes I got to reach out and ask.
All good stuff. Great points too.
All
Love
right.
that.
And then here's the key. Are you ready for the key? This is like the key.
Give me a
The
key.
one thing. This is the thing that's going to unlock it all for everything. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Mm-hmm.
Repeat the process over and over again.
Oh, it's like a shampoo bottle.
Pretty
You
much, yeah.
just in you repeat, rinse, lather, repeat.
Rinse, lather, repeat.
All
Yep, that's
right.
exactly it. That's
Nice.
exactly it. So, in closing, are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. In closing, I have to scroll up here. In closing, successful productivity requires a three-legged stool. And if you don't know what those are by now, you've not been listening. It's time management, project management, and communication management. But here's a personal note, okay? This is on a personal note. I'm going to read this to you because I want to make sure I get it right. I wrote it. It's just awesome what I wrote. I don't want to mess it up. All right. I believe that the person sitting on the stool is vital to the success of productivity. So if that person is well suited to sit and be productive, then the legs of the stool will hold them up. But if the person is overstressed, under the weather, that's
There you go.
appropriate for
There you
Mr.
go.
Michael, isn't it?
There you go.
Or maybe they're just off their game, then he or she will be unable to be productive. So it's really imperative that you take time for your personal well being too. And that's my own personal note I'm just saying to each of you. So hopefully you've gotten something from tonight's discussion. Hopefully you've had some things that you could add. Maybe go ahead and share in the comments if you're watching in the replay. Somebody watching might benefit from the things that you have to share. We really do appreciate you guys being here, and we do always keep these open afterwards for our community members, and that's gives them a chance to come in here and pick our brain about whatever, or maybe even give their own thoughts and opinions about what was said tonight. And whenever we have a special guest who really knowledgeable about something, that's a